What's up, guys? Abby here.
I'm Michaela.
I'm Bella.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is my mom, if you guys don't know. We're here today. I just wanted to do a really casual kind of Q&A style video on abortion. And the reason why I wanted to do it today, I don't know when this video is going to go up, but I know we're filming this video right now on a Friday, the 22nd of January, which I don't know if you guys knew this, but President Donald Trump, while he was still in office, he made this day a national holiday, the National Sanctity of Life, Human Life Day. So that's why we wanted to film this video today, because it was just super special, and I think that it's really close to our hearts. So that's why we're talking about that today. So we're going to jump right into some questions that people have asked, and we're going to kind of do it Q&A style, popcorn answers, whatever you want to do, and kind of elaborate on that. And feel free to comment down below and ask more questions, and we'll try to answer those. But
please keep it kind and respectable.
Yeah.
Or
Respectable.
Oh my gosh.
Respectful.
Respectful.
That's it.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
We are human, so we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Respectful. I did not think of it.
This will be very, very lightly edited, so you might see like us just kind of
That.
talking about like that. Yeah, please be kind and respectful in the comments, because if you call yourself a Christian, I would love to see the love of Jesus come through you. So I really wanted to just start off the base for people that have no idea what abortion is or what the process is, and the real things that I have researched from abortion clinics and the actual tools that they use and procedures that they use, which are horrifying. But I'm going to kind of go through those briefly, and then we're going to jump into the questions. So the first kind of procedure that happens is the very early onset stage of a baby, and that is 12 to 13 weeks. What they do is the baby is about this big, actually smaller, like that, and it's small enough to be vacuumed out. So what they do is they stick a vacuum up into the woman's body and they vacuum the baby out, which is, if you didn't know that, that's terrible to me. And the next one, they use two different tools. One is called a curette, which is kind of like a scraping tool. And the other one is called a forceps. They're forceps. So they're kind of like tongs that have grippers on them that can grab onto the limbs of the baby and tear them apart. So what they do is, with the baby is a little bit bigger, they will take the forceps and they will go in and rip the baby limb by limb and take it out. And that's what they do for babies that are a little bit bigger, that are too big to be sucked up into the vacuum. And then they go in with the curette and they scrape the lining of your uterus to get all the rest of that fetus out. And then the last thing they do is if the baby is too big to be vacuumed up, or the skull is too big and too strong to be crushed by the forceps, they take a syringe with essentially a poison in it, and they go and they basically induce a heart attack. And they put the syringe into the baby's heart, and then she essentially goes into labor. They induce labor, and she births a stillborn baby. And that is when they're the biggest form. That's like up until birth.
Like late term
abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also another way of abortion, which is the abortion pill, which essentially Bella knows a lot more about that than I do, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so I read a couple articles, and basically it's before you reach about like 18 to 20 weeks of pregnancy, so the baby's still relatively small, and you do have to go to a doctor's office and get a prescription. You go for 2. And it basically acts like a miscarriage does.
Mm-hmm.
So you cramp, you bleed, and your body gets rid of the baby. And so to kind of put it into perspective, I just straight up looked up, what is a miscarriage? And it says that a miscarriage is the expulsion of a fetus from the womb before it is able to survive independently. So that was the definition of a miscarriage. And then I also looked up just what is a miscarriage. And it says a miscarriage is when a baby dies in the womb before 20 weeks of pregnancy. So this article is saying that the abortion pill acts just like a miscarriage with cramping and bleeding. then and a miscarriage is when your baby dies in the womb, then the abortion pill is killing your baby inside of the womb and is getting rid of it just like a miscarriage does.
Yeah.
And then you go back in for the second pill, just make sure everything's gone. It kind of acts more like an antibiotic to just make sure that your body's like clean and safe and everything like that. And you go back regularly into your menstrual cycle.
Yeah. So basically, those are all of the main ways that abortion procedures are done. So just to put that in perspective for you, if that does not disgust you in any way, I don't know what is going to disgust you, to be honest. But we're actually going to jump into the questions right now. And Michaela has the first question here.
First question is basically, what are our thoughts on abortion in the case of the baby having special needs when the baby's born? So, who wants to take the lead on that one?
Well, basically,
Is it a human life?
Yes.
Yes.
well, I mean,
Then
it's still
there's really
a human
not-
life. Yeah.
Not a discussion.
What I would
No.
say is like,
Can I jump in?
yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Great. So a lot recently, this is great. I'm very glad that this is like a recent movement, I guess to say, is a lot of I can't remember her name, but there's this one famous Down syndrome Instagram model. I've seen her a lot. I can't remember her name. But you also go on shopping websites and you'll see people with Down syndrome, or you'll see women or men like in wheelchairs using crutches, or that have a prosthetic leg or whatever. And some of those, could have happened in an accident, but there's definitely a lot of people that are born with those disabilities, and people are embracing those disabilities, which is fantastic. But would you kill your 2-year-old toddler because he's showing autistic signs, or because when your baby was born it has Down syndrome and you don't want it because that's inconvenient for you? I feel like it's hypocritical when outside of the womb disabilities and special needs and stuff like that are praised, they're encouraged, but then inside the womb they're not alive and they don't matter. You're sacrificing your child for inconvenience, and it's selfish.
So essentially that question is that's not really a good standing argument, because there is no ground to stand on with that.
And it goes right into what Miss Kelly said as well, is that just because you have a special need does not mean that you're not alive.
Yeah.
So
It
that
doesn't mean that you don't have dignity and a right to life.
God created that baby, regardless of whether it has disabilities or not. God created it for a purpose on this earth, and it's not for us to decide who gets what purposes. That's for God to decide.
Absolutely. Another extremely popular question was thoughts on abortion in cases of rape.
Okay, I want to take this one.
Okay, Abby's got this one, guys.
So this is one that people ask me all the time, and I first want to point out that rape and the other very rare cases is less than 1% of abortions. If you're using rape as your main stance on why you agree with abortion is what about rape, that is a very soft ground to stand on, and it's not going to be a good argument to stand on. So what I'm going to say is, why would you punish the baby for the sins of the father? If you are, first of all, I want to say, if you have been raped and you're watching this video, I want to say that you're loved and you're valued, and that is a horrific act.
The actions of that person does not define your worth and your value.
It's absolutely not. Rape, the act of rape is something completely different than the act of abortion. My point is that why would you punish the child for the sins of the father? There's absolutely no reason for that. Why would you add to more emotional pain that happened with that abortion? And I want to actually touch on, I was watching a video with Kirsten Hawkins, who is the founder of Students for Life, and she was talking to a student, and they were like, well, what about cases of rape? And she was talking about if you were to present that argument to, say, the government, and you were like, not that I agree with this at all, but if you were to present to the government, okay, would you abolish all abortion except for cases of rape and safety of the mother? Okay, just
Or
say that.
incest.
Or
Rape and
incest. I guarantee you that the government would still say no, because rape, incest, safety of the mother issues is less than 1% of abortions. Women are getting abortions because their baby's inconvenient for them. They didn't choose it. A bunch of other reasons that it's just not convenient, and that's why we believe it's not okay. And we also believe it's not okay in rape because you cannot punish the child for the sins of the father.
Can I actually tell a story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, my mom went to college with this girl. I don't know her name, so her identity's safe. But, she, she was in college, and I believe she got date raped, and she ended up becoming pregnant with his child, and she never really saw him again after that. It wasn't like an ongoing thing. It was just, I guess, wrong place, wrong time, which is still terrible, but
Yeah.
she wasn't like an abusive relationship or anything like that. So she ended up, finding out she was pregnant, and she got an abortion. Well, and she didn't tell anybody, her family, her friends, nobody knew. It ended up messing with her mentally a lot. She turned to alcohol and drugs. She got kicked out of state where she went, and she was suicidal. She really just went down a really bad path. And when her parents confronted her about it, they were like, well, what's wrong? This is not like you. This is not who you are. She said, I got an abortion and I don't know how to deal with it. It wasn't so much the rape, which is still emotionally traumatizing, but it was the fact for her that she had killed her baby, and she couldn't cope with that. She could not forgive herself for that. She could not get over that emotional hurdle or burden of her getting rid of her child. And she had all these what ifs. What if I had kept it? What would my life be like? And it was really hard for her.
Emotionally traumatizing
For her to deal with that. So it's not always the best option.
Yeah. So the essential response to that argument is,
Well, it's never the best
why
option.
would you build your opposition on cases that are less than 1% of all abortion?
Yeah.
And that's my stance on that.
And this actually plays into our next question, which was also, how do we defend... Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the question. Thoughts on rare cases where mom and baby will both die. So thoughts on abortions where the mom and the baby are both compromised and they could both die.
Well, actually, another story about this. My aunt was pregnant with her third child, and he had severe complications. She was told that if she carried full term, it could mess up her ability to have kids ever. And it was a low percentage, but she did have a percentage of not dying, but just being like just really, really sick and just like not well at all. And her doctor wanted her to abort her baby, and she said no. But the last 5 months she was in the hospital on bed rest. She was kept watch over because her health was really at stake. Her baby ended up only living 4 hours, but she said, no, I'm not going to abort my child.
Yeah.
And so that again,
the fact that a doctor encouraged her to do that.
Which
yeah,
is very
she
typical.
fired him and went to another doctor.
Yeah, typical.
That's no matter what your case is, that's still not our job to decide the fate of that child.
You can't play God.
No.
You don't know whether you're gonna live or not. But it's not an excuse to then kill your baby in order to save yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mom, do you have anything you want to add on that?
No, I agree. I think there's a problem with so many doctors that do play God.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
we have so many that will perform abortions that are playing God right there. Doctors are sworn in, and they're supposed to be, life is supposed to be sacred. They're supposed to be life-saving.
Yeah.
They have the
Using all
Hippocratic
of
oath.
their abilities to save lives, not decide who lives and who dies.
Well, it's in the Hippocratic oath.
But as far as, in the end, a doctor is to go and try to save both lives, both the mother and the child. If he's unable to save one or the other, then that's part of being a doctor. You can't save every life all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's been
You
so
have to
many
be willing
cases
to.
that I've
That
heard
happened to my
over
mom,
the
yeah.
years from friends that doctors advise them not to carry, or because of their a lot of my friends that have gotten pregnant older, all the risk have been encouraged by doctors to abort the baby, or and almost every one of the cases of my friends that were encouraged not to have, they had perfectly healthy babies.
Yep.
No problems at all. So I just don't really think that
It's our place.
it's our place to make that choice.
Yeah.
And when you are told that maybe you could die or your baby could die, that's when you give it over to God and you
Yeah.
say, I'm trusting you fully. So yeah. Okay, another question that we got was basically, how would we defend being pro-life or being against abortion, leaving religion out of it? So Christianity aside and what we believe about the Bible, basically what does science say about when a baby's alive and conception and all that? So I think Bella's going to take the lead on this one because she...
Gosh, how do you do that? Like, God is our life. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
I know.
sorry.
Originally I
Which
was like,
I actually
how do
kind
you
of like this question because so many people are like, oh my gosh, whatever. Like, don't back up pro-life with Christianity. I want science. But the problem is that
God created science.
biblical truth and science do not contradict each other.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Science and biblical truth go together because God
Well,
created
like birds
everything.
in a
God
feather.
created science.
God created science. So
Um,
we have some scientific facts that Bella's going to read to you about pregnancy to answer that question for you.
So there's 3 stages when it comes to pregnancy, and the first stage is called the germinal period, and that begins right at conception when the sperm fertilizes the egg, and it ends when the zygote implants the uterine wall about 2 weeks later. And then the next 6 weeks is the most rapid development out of the entire pregnancy. And something cannot grow and develop if it's not living.
Alive.
If it's not, like, this couch we're sitting on, it's not a living thing. It cannot grow and develop. Like, that's not scientifically
nature.
possible.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a characteristic of something that's not
That's living.
alive.
Yeah.
That's not alive. And the DNA of that fetus is formed just a few days after conception. The sense of touch of a baby is developed in their 7th week of prenatal life. And a lot of abortions happen after that. So this baby that you're aborting is feeling
Feeling their limbs.
feeling their limbs being ripped off, feeling being sucked out of the vacuum. Like, they're feeling this, they're experiencing this.
7 weeks. To put that in perspective, I was talking about the vacuum or suction abortion. That happens around 12 or 13 weeks. So when your baby is this big and you want to have an abortion at 12 weeks, 7 weeks is smaller than that.
And it can
Yeah.
feel.
And you can feel pain.
The end of the 3rd week of the pregnancy is when its heart starts beating. Most women don't even find out they're pregnant until they're about 5 to 7 weeks along. So the baby's already had a heartbeat for, 2 to 4 weeks. And life and death is defined by when the heartbeat stops and when the heartbeat ends. So if something has a heartbeat, it's alive. This is a living thing, and I cannot drive that home enough. And just to kind of put things into perspective, the earliest preemie recorded to live outside of the womb and survive was 21 weeks old. So yeah, this is definitely a living thing.
And I've heard a lot of people, this is kind of a trendy topic now, is that the fetus is a living thing, but it's not a person. That's so, I can't, that's so,
Who defines
who defines a person?
The way I think that they approach it is they don't have their individuality yet. How do you say that word?
Individuality.
They're not born yet. So
conscious.
that doesn't make them a human or a person.
Or
to
yeah,
them.
or a person that they can do things on their own and live independently. Well, a 2-year-old can't do that. So are they a person or not?
And I would ask you, I would say, okay, so at what point do they become a human? Because there's not some magical portal in your vagina for when you have your baby. Like, that's like a little comedy relief for you. Like, you're not in the delivery room like, whoop, oh, there's a person. Like,
Well, and if you're looking at it from that, you have C-sections, so I mean,
So,
it doesn't work.
I was a C-section.
I was a C-section.
I didn't come out of my mother's vagina, so am I not a person?
I was
Sorry.
I was not a C-section, but
So, you're a person.
but I'm yes.
We're not. We're not, by the
people.
way. Sorry.
Ooh, that one hurts.
And yeah, so I like that you hammered home that the baby has a heartbeat at how many weeks was it?
The third week, it has
third week.
has a consistent heartbeat.
So for anyone that thinks that your baby doesn't have a heartbeat, ask any abortionist who aborts babies if the babies that they kill have heartbeats. They will tell you yes, they have heartbeats. They are a living, breathing human person.
Okay, so our next question is, would you be friends with someone who has had an abortion? Or basically, I think part of the question was, would you talk to someone who's had an abortion or keep a conversation going? I think all of our answers is
Of course.
going to be
100%.
absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
I would love to have those conversations with you guys, or people who have had and
Yeah.
want to talk about it. Absolutely. Something that I did want to talk about a little bit was how, as Christians, we're not called to judge you on your sin. If we didn't want to be friends with you or associate ourselves with you because of a sin that you've committed, then we wouldn't have any
We
friends.
wouldn't be friends with anyone.
Yeah,
Because
we would hate ourselves.
We're all sinners.
we're all sinners. We all sin.
And we need
And
saving.
sin is sin. And so I just wanted to read here in Romans chapter 2, it's just talking about like God's righteous judgment. And it says, chapter 2, verses 1 through 2, it says, "Therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same thing," meaning sin. Verse 2, "We know that the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things." So that just goes to show that, number one, we all sin, and it's not for us to judge each other. God will judge you on your sin, and that's his
On
job.
Judgment Day. Yeah.
On Judgment Day, and that is his job. And so I know that we do our best
Mhm.
in that area to try
Yeah.
not to judge each other, and we're not perfect, so we will and we do and we always
Right.
will. But of course we would have a conversation with you. We want to be friends with you.
And I have had some of those conversations with people.
Absolutely.
I've had conversations with people who've had abortions, and it's a difficult conversation to have, but it's also very like life-giving sometimes, because you can help people like get over those hurdles.
You can give them encouragement.
Absolutely.
And I want to add something else to what you said. We're not to judge others on our sin, but judging someone on their sin and also keeping other Christians accountable to who they say they are two very different things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We are called to keep our brothers and sisters in Christ accountable. If you call yourself a Christian and you support abortion,
We're gonna.
then you cannot call yourself a Christian. I'm like, that's probably an unpopular opinion that people would be like, you can't tell me I'm not a Christian. I'm not telling you you're not saved. I'm not trying to determine your salvation,
We're
because that's
asking you to
judgment.
check your heart.
I'm saying don't profess your faith and call yourself a Christian if you support abortion, because that's blasphemy and that's wrong.
And it's a false testimony.
And actually, that kind of goes into a little bit of another question, which we'll just flow right into. It says, would you support someone? So looking at it from our perspective, we're pro-life, we're against abortion. The question is, would we then support someone else who's choosing to get an abortion? I know my answer would be no. It doesn't mean I don't love that person, but I'm pro-life, and so I'm not going to support abortion at all.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter if you're my best friend or if you're a stranger, I'm not going to support it. I'm going to love you, and I'm going to do my best to love you. But I think the answer all around for us
if
is,
you don't want the kid,
no.
give it to me. I mean, don't abort it.
Bella and I are ready for families.
Like, bring it on.
Give
I
us all
will
the
take it
kids.
now.
No, but in all seriousness, no. We would not support.
I 100% agree with that statement. I would not support. I stand by the statement, love the sinner, hate the sin. I would not support the act. If I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life all the way. Just because I don't believe in it, I still would not support you if you got an abortion. I would still love you and support you as a person, but I wouldn't support what you did. So that's I think we all can agree on
Yeah,
that.
and I
statement.
think not to make it a light topic, that would be a hard conversation
Yeah.
to have with someone.
Yeah.
And we've never had to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're coming at it from the perspective of we know it wouldn't be easy, but we know what we believe. So,
As Christians, it's
hopefully you
standing
could
strong. Yeah.
Hopefully you could have that conversation before the abortion takes place.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
And
I actually
and-
know a lot of girls that are going like through that know people that are considering it, and they're having to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a better spot to be than having the conversation after when the baby's already.
Gone and having
Yeah.
to tell them the truth
Mm-hmm.
about what it is. But I mean, they are forgiven, but it's still a really hard conversation.
And kind of branching off of that, standing for what's right is always not going to be popular.
yeah.
No.
And
Look at us now.
yeah, right? Like
It's
you,
not.
if you believe in Jesus, if you believe that the Bible is the living word of God, then you have to stand with it every single word. You
Yeah.
cannot pick and choose from the Bible. You cannot say, oh, homosexuality is fine, but murder is wrong.
Yeah.
In the Bible, it says that both is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's unpopular. You're gonna lose friends over it. But at the end of the day, do you want praise from the world or do you want praise from God?
Yeah.
I know my answer.
And the picking and
that's God.
choosing thing goes right back to whether abortion would be okay in a case of rape or special needs. You
Yeah.
can't pick or choose what you want to believe from the Bible. Murder is wrong. Abortion is murder.
And God brings so much good from evil.
Yes.
He does. And I mean, time and time again, you see in the Bible where something looks bad in that situation, but it ends up being great. Look at Joseph. Look at the story of Daniel. And I'm not going to tell you because you need to go and look at that yourself. But so many times, Esther. I mean, like, there's so many stories in the Bible.
Well,
where-
gosh, for that, I mean, imagine if Jesus had,
Yeah.
Mary was a 16-year-old
If
girl.
we had the laws that we
that-
did today,
If she was in the situation she was in, and had the laws today, she could have aborted our Lord
aborted
and Savior.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's-
She literally could
And
have
put
aborted
yourself
Jesus.
in her shoes.
She
didn't-
still could have, because, I mean, they still did abortions back then.
Well, yes. Put yourself in Mary's shoes. She didn't ask for a baby.
No, and she was
She-
15 to 17
She
years
was
old.
a virgin. So put yourself in those shoes, though God used that for good.
Yeah, for humanity.
Humanity, the good of
Yeah.
humanity. So yeah, let's move on. The next one is, do we personally know anyone who has gotten an abortion? I'll answer real quick. I have met someone, but it's not someone that I'm super duper close with in the first place. But I have met someone.
Yeah.
Um,
We have a couple close family friends that have had abortions.
I know, I mean, my mom's probably going to elaborate a little bit on this. I know people because they're my mom's, like a couple people that my mom grew up with. But I don't know anyone that's like my age personally, but
Yeah, they're not our age.
Mhm.
They're adults.
Mine's an adult as well.
So I have friends that had abortions when they were probably, you girls' age or just a little bit older.
that was scary.
And
I don't even want to go.
they're
get
my
tapped.
age now, and it haunts them. They still have to live with the fact that they killed a baby.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time with it, even today. So you think how many years after, and that is still affecting them mentally.
That emotional pain.
Yeah, the family friend of ours, she said she got it when she was a teenager, and there's not a day she goes by that she doesn't think about it.
Yeah, and it's also hard for
And-
people to accept the fact that like if they're Christians now that they've been forgiven from that.
I was gonna say they're forgiven, as because my friends now, the ones that I know are Christians, they understand their forgiveness, but it's still something that is a
haunts
hurdle
them. Yeah.
for them to get over.
And you can still, suffer consequences your whole life from stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're still going to be held accountable for that, because that's a decision you made, a
Yeah.
conscious decision you made. So,
Yeah.
Okay, our last thing that we kind of want to talk about actually wasn't a question, it was more of a statement, but it's a very popular statement.
Yeah.
Kind of disguised as a couple different ways to say it, but we're going to have Abby talk about this, but it's, abortion is an option that should be available for all women. Don't like it, don't do it. And that's complete quote from the question. So
Yeah, that's
Or
100%
statement.
a quote from a question that I got from someone, or an opposition. That's actually a very, very common one, also known as the My Body, My Choice opposition. This stance is probably the most common, and it's probably, I'm going to be straight honest, the most easy to debunk, because number one, I'm going to break down that question. The first portion of that statement is abortion is an option that should be available for all women. Okay, don't like it, don't do it. Okay, so don't like it, don't do it essentially means my body, my choice. So we first have to establish that, yes, you do have bodily autonomy. You can get whatever healthcare you want. You can get whatever insurance. You can do whatever you want with your body. But it stops when it affects someone else's body. So we have to first establish that you're affecting someone else's body. And we have done that the baby is not just a clump of cells or just a fetus. That's not a person. It is a living, breathing human being who can feel pain and that has a beating heart. So you are affecting another human being that is a part of you. And so my body, my choice is immediately, debunked because it's not just your body, it's someone else's body. And to be quite frank, you should be fighting for the babies that can't speak for themselves. So
I know that pro-choice people have probably heard this argument because, it's a popular one, but I have not heard it debunked personally, is when a pregnant woman is murdered, it's counted as a double homicide.
Mm-hmm.
Or we had, a couple years ago where I live, we had a terrible car accident where the pregnant woman, she lived, but she lost her baby, and they counted it as a death.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't die, she lived. So that was separate from her. So it's not her body, it's another
a
body.
separate living, breathing human being.
Yeah. And Lord forbid you kill a pregnant animal.
Oh yeah. That's a whole different conversation, but and this kind of goes along with that my body, my choice. If you choose to have sex, a natural consequence of sex, a natural response to sex that happens that you should know when you consent to having sex, you're automatically checking the fact you're okay with the fact of getting pregnant. You consent to that fact because a result of sex is pregnancy. So
And STDs.
you didn't choose it is not.
Just keep your legs shut.
Obviously, this is our life. Bella's saying random things. Anyway, Abby, continue.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
basically, pregnancy is a natural consequence of sex. If you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. That's a
More
whole
people
different.
die from STDs than pregnancy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
We're back on
this is
STDs.
true. I'm not
This is
saying.
science class. Let's
Like,
do it.
they're worried about pregnancy when an STD is even worse. Like,
Yeah. So when
Shut.
people use the argument, I didn't choose this. Yes, you did. You chose it when you chose to have sex. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's very true. If you choose to have sex, you are open to the idea of getting pregnant.
truth hurts.
It's true.
Lizzo. Straight from the-
Wow.
Sorry, no, okay.
Okay.
That was basically all we had.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're actually gonna pray us out. I'm gonna pray us out, and then feel free to please repost this and share it wherever you want, and don't be afraid to comment. Please be kind and respectful. But hopefully, all 3 or 4 of my mom's not really on Instagram will be in the comments
She
too.
is. Miss Kelly's on
Miss Kelly's on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Miss Kelly be hyping me up on my post. What are you talking about?
She's like our biggest fan.
She is.
I do want
Love
to say,
Miss Kelly.
real quick, if you have a question about anything that any of us have said specifically, feel free to DM us.
Yep.
And you want to talk
Yeah.
about it, I'm completely open to that.
Yep.
I think we all are. And we'll all be tagged somewhere or linked somewhere. I don't know.
We'll all be in this video. We'll probably all be in the comments answering people's questions if you have questions.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching, and let's go ahead and pray. Dear God, I just want to come before you right now, and I want to thank you for everyone that is watching this video right now. Let them know that they're loved and they're valued. And I want to thank you for everyone, Michaela, Bella, and my mom that were here for this video. And I also want to lift up all of these beautiful babies that are out there right now. And I just want to ask for your protection over them as this new administration comes on our country right now. And just, God, I just ask that you protect them and give us the strength to fight against this and to be very strong in our pro-life views, God. And to not back down even though we're being persecuted, because we see it happening every single day that Christians are being persecuted. We're probably going to get a lot of hate for this video. I know I have on some of my other videos or comments or posts, and I know these girls have too, and just give us strength with that, God, and I just ask for your protection over all of these unborn babies and all of these people watching this video right now. And I just want to pray over this video right now and ask that it touches someone or enlightens someone, God. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, guys.
We love you all.
Bye.
Jesus loves you too.
I blew a kiss.
Oh.